At his home in Setauket, retired Stony Brook University computer science professor Arthur Bernstein is preparing a log of black walnut for a new sculpture. He began sculpting about 40 years ago while working at the General Electric Research Laboratory in Schenectady.
I had always enjoyed working with my hands, and Schenectady had a fine new museum which offered a lot of courses in various kinds of artwork. And one of the modes of sculpture that was popular up in Schenectady was sculpting in stone.
When he moved to Long Island in the 1970s, he found a new, local material to work with.
Black walnut is native to this area, so it's possible to get black walnut for essentially nothing. This is a piece in black walnut. It's a beautiful wood. It's wonderful to carve, and it grows in your backyard or your neighbor's backyard, and so you can often find tree trunks around that you can use.
Bernstein uses wood that has been aged 10 to 15 years because older logs with less moisture are easier to carve.
The first step in carving a sculpture is to obviously get rid of the bark and also the layer of wood that's just under the bark, which is called the sapwood, which has a totally different color than the heartwood underneath. So what you're looking at here is mostly sapwood. If I went down another half an inch or more, you'd see the full color of the black walnut coming through. If I'm carving in wood, generally, not always, but generally, what I like is to create graceful forms. I like the notion and the freedom of doing an abstraction. And I like long, graceful lines and gentle curves, and I think the end product is nice.
Bernstein also creates sculptures with clay and resin. His most recent piece, like many others, was inspired by a natural object.
In this case, the natural object is this piece of a root, which I thought had some sculptural promise in it. I like the fact that it had a large area down here and a contrasting narrow area up here. And I liked the curves that I saw and the way the wood lay in here, and it had sort of an upward thrust to it.
Papoose, an abstraction created from black walnut, was also inspired by a natural object.
The idea was suggested to me by just a fragment of a shell that I found on the beach, and it just suggested the idea of a leaning form. I thought that this part here, is reflected in this here. I enjoy the shapes of things. I enjoy the curves that go into a lot of my sculptures. I enjoy the open spaces, positive and negative spaces that I create with the sculptures. And it gives me a lot of pleasure to see a block of wood, which is just a lump with no shape generally, finally take a form which I think is pleasing.
From Setauket, this is Michael Corellis.